Maria Santos walked into the Riverside Cafe at 5 in the morning. The sun was just starting to come up and the streets were still quiet and empty. She had worked at this cafe for 8 years now. She knew every corner, every table, and every regular customer who came in for their morning coffee and breakfast. Maria loved her job because she liked helping people. She was good at remembering names and faces. She knew that Mr. Johnson always wanted his coffee black with 2 sugars. She knew that Mrs. Chen loved the honey cake on Tuesday mornings. She knew that the businessman in the suit always wanted his eggs fried, not scrambled. This morning felt normal like all the others. Maria put on her uniform, tied her hair back, and started setting up the tables. She arranged the sugar and cream bottles. She checked the coffee machine. She made sure all the menus were clean and in the right place. Around 6 o'clock, the first customers started coming in. An old man read his newspaper in the corner. A young woman worked on her computer by the window. Everything was the same as always. But then, at 6:30, a man Maria had never seen before came through the door. He was young, maybe around 30 years old. He wore an expensive dark suit that looked very new and clean. His shoes shined like mirrors. His watch looked like the kind you see in expensive stores. Maria noticed right away that he looked different from the usual customers. He was handsome, but something about him seemed sad. His face had no smile. His eyes looked tired, like he had not slept well. He walked slowly to the corner booth in the back of the cafe. This was the booth where business people usually sat when they wanted to talk about big deals in private. The young man sat down and looked out the window. He did not pick up the menu. He just sat there staring at nothing. Maria walked over to his table with a friendly smile. She was trained to be warm and kind to all customers, even the ones who looked unhappy. She said, "Good morning. Welcome to the Riverside Cafe. Can I get you something to drink?" The young man looked up at her. He had brown eyes that looked very sad and tired. He said in a quiet voice, "Just water, please. And maybe some toast." Maria noticed his hand shook a little bit when he reached for the water glass she brought him. It was just a small shake, but she saw it. Maria brought the water and warm toast with butter on the side. The young man said thank you, but he did not eat. He just broke the toast into small pieces and pushed them around on his plate. He looked at his phone many times. Each time he looked at the screen, his face seemed to get sadder. Sometimes his fingers moved fast across the phone like he was about to type something. Then he would stop and put the phone down again. He seemed confused and worried. Maria watched him from across the cafe as she served other customers. She was curious about this sad young man, but she also did not want to bother him. After about 45 minutes, the young man stood up. He had barely eaten anything. He left some money on the table, much more money than the food cost. Maria said goodbye and he gave a small smile. Then he walked out into the morning light. Maria picked up the plate with the uneaten toast and the money he had left. She wondered who he was and why he looked so sad. She put the money in her pocket and cleaned the table. She did not know it yet, but this young man would change her life. The rest of the morning went by like normal. More customers came in. Some ordered eggs and coffee. Some ordered pancakes. Some just wanted juice and fruit. Maria served them all with her usual kindness. She made jokes and listened to their stories. One old man told her about his grandson's birthday party. A woman talked about her new garden. Maria listened to everything. She loved knowing about people's lives. It made her feel like she was part of a big family, even though she was just a waitress. Around noon, Maria took her lunch break. She sat in the back of the cafe with a cup of tea and a small sandwich. She thought about the sad young man again. She wondered where he came from. She wondered why he looked so worried. She wondered if he would come back. There was something about him that made her feel concerned. She could not explain why, but something told her that he was not okay. This feeling stayed with her all afternoon. When Maria left work at 3 o'clock, she walked home through the city streets. She lived in a small apartment not far from the cafe. The neighborhood was quiet and peaceful. She cooked a simple dinner of rice and beans. She watched a little television. She got ready for bed early because she had to wake up at 4 in the morning again tomorrow. But even when she was lying in bed, she thought about the young man from the corner booth. She did not know his name. She did not know anything about him. But something inside her told her that she would see him again, and somehow she knew that when she did, something important would happen. The next morning, Maria woke up at 4 o'clock like always. She went through her morning routine. She washed her face, put on her uniform, and walked to the cafe in the dark morning air. She did not expect anything special to happen. She did not know that this morning would be different from all the others. She did not know that a sad young man would walk through the door and change everything. But somewhere deep inside she had a feeling. She had a feeling that something was about to happen, and Maria Santos always trusted her feelings. The young man came back to the Riverside Cafe the next day. He came at the same time, 6:30 in the morning. He sat in the same corner booth. He ordered the same thing, water and toast. But this time Maria was ready. She had been thinking about him all night. When he came through the door, she smiled and walked over to say hello. She asked him his name. The young man looked surprised that she remembered him. He said his name was James. He spoke in a quiet voice, and he did not look Maria in the eyes when he talked to her. Maria knew right away that James was going through something hard. Over the next 2 weeks, James became a regular at the Riverside Cafe. He came almost every morning. He always sat in the same booth. He always ordered water and toast. But he never ate much. Maria began to notice more things about James. His clothes started to look too big for him. He was losing weight. His face became thinner and paler. The shine went out of his eyes. The small shake in his hands that she first noticed now became bigger. Sometimes his whole hand would shake when he tried to pick up his coffee cup. Maria also noticed that James would cry sometimes. He would be looking at his phone and tears would slowly run down his face. He would try to hide it by turning away or looking down, but Maria saw. One morning, another customer sat at the table next to James. The man tried to make friendly talk. He said something like, "Beautiful morning, is it not?" James did not answer for a long time. Then he said something very quiet that the man could not hear. The man tried again to be friendly, but James just looked away and did not say anything else. After a few minutes, James got up and moved to another table. Maria saw all of this. She saw that James was not just sad. He was scared. He was alone. He seemed like he was pushing everyone away, even people who just wanted to be nice to him. Maria started to do something she had never done before. She began to sit with James during her breaks. She would bring a cup of tea and sit at his table. At first, James seemed confused when she did this. He did not know why a waitress would want to sit with him. But Maria was kind and gentle. She did not ask too many questions. She did not push him to talk about his problems. She just sat with him. Sometimes she talked about small things, the weather, the food at the cafe, funny things that happened that day. Sometimes they just sat in quiet silence. But James seemed to relax a little bit when Maria was there. His body became less tight. His face showed a tiny bit less worry. One day, Maria asked James a simple question. She said, "Are you okay?" James did not answer right away. He looked down at his toast. His hands were shaking bad that morning. He said, "I do not know. I do not think so." Maria waited. She did not say anything. She just let James take his time. Then James said something that made Maria's heart fill with sadness. He said, "Nobody sees me. Nobody really sees me. I am invisible." Maria reached across the table and put her hand on his hand. She said, "I see you, James. I see that something is wrong. I see that you are in pain. I see you." James looked at her with tears in his eyes. For the first time in weeks, somebody had really looked at him and said that they saw him. But even though Maria could see that James was suffering, she did not know how bad things really were. She did not know that James came from a very rich family. She did not know that he had money and nice things but was still very sad on the inside. She did not know that his sadness came from taking medicine that made him feel sick. She did not know that he had stopped eating because nothing tasted good anymore. She did not know that he was thinking about ending his life. These were things Maria could not see, even though she was looking very carefully. As the days went by, Maria became more worried about James. She talked to her sister about him one night. Her sister said, "Maria, you cannot help everyone. You are just a waitress. You should not get so involved." But Maria could not stop worrying. She had a bad feeling in her stomach. She felt like something was going to go very wrong. She did not sleep well at night. She would lie in bed and think about James. She would wonder if he was okay. She would worry that tomorrow he would not come to the cafe. Then 3 weeks after James first came to the Riverside Cafe, something happened that made Maria know that she had to do something big. She had to take action. She could not just sit and watch James get worse anymore. Something inside her told her that time was running out. Something inside her told her that if she did not do something very soon, it might be too late. Maria did not know exactly what was wrong with James, but she knew that his life was in danger. And Maria Santos, even though she was just a simple waitress, knew that she had to be brave. She knew that she had to help this young man, no matter what it cost her. It was a cold Thursday morning in November when James came to the Riverside Cafe for what would be the most important day of both their lives. Maria was getting ready to start her shift when she saw him walk through the door. The moment she looked at him, she knew that something very bad was happening. James looked nothing like the man she had met 3 weeks ago. His face was so white it looked almost like paper. His eyes were sunk deep into his head. His body moved slowly, like he was very old or very sick. His beautiful suit hung on him like it was made for a much bigger person. His hands shook so much that he could barely hold the door when he came in. James walked to his usual booth, but he moved like a ghost. He sat down very slowly. Maria brought him water like always. But when James tried to pick up the glass, his hands shook so much that water spilled everywhere. He could not even hold a water glass. Maria looked at him and she knew. She knew without a doubt that something was very, very wrong. She knew that James was in real danger. She knew that today was the day when she had to do something big, something that might change everything. Maria sat down across from James at the booth. She did not ask permission. She just sat down. James was staring at nothing. He was not looking at his phone. He was not eating. He was just sitting there staring at empty space. Maria said, "James, I need you to look at me." James slowly turned his head to look at her. When their eyes met, Maria saw something that made her heart break. She saw a person who was ready to give up. She saw a person who was at the end of their rope. She saw a person who was saying goodbye. Maria said to him in a strong but kind voice, "James, I do not know exactly what is wrong with you. I do not know all your problems. But I can see that you are suffering. I can see that you are in real danger, and I am going to help you right now." James tried to say something, but Maria stood up. She walked to the phone behind the counter. She knew what she had to do. She picked up the phone and dialed 911. The person who answered said, "911, what is your emergency?" Maria said, "My name is Maria Santos. I am at the Riverside Cafe on Main Street. I have a person here who I believe is in serious danger. His name is James. He cannot hold things in his hands. He is very pale. He is not talking. Something is very wrong with him." The person on the phone said they were sending an ambulance right away. Maria hung up and looked at James. She said, "Help is coming. An ambulance is coming to help you." James's eyes became big with fear. He said, No, you should not have done that. I did not want," but Maria said, "I do not care what you wanted. I care about you living. I care about you getting help." The other customers in the cafe did not know what was happening. They looked confused and worried. Maria stayed near James and held his hand. She said, "It is going to be okay. Help is coming." Within 5 minutes, the sound of the ambulance siren came down the street. 2 paramedics in green uniforms ran into the cafe. They came right over to James. One of the paramedics asked James to tell them what was wrong. James could barely speak. His words came out slow and unclear. The paramedic checked James's heart with a special machine. The paramedic's face changed. He said to his partner, "His heart rate is way too fast. His blood pressure is very low. We need to get him to the hospital right now." The paramedics put James on a stretcher. They put a band around his arm to check his pressure. They gave him oxygen to help him breathe. As they were carrying James out to the ambulance, he looked at Maria. He said in a weak voice, "Thank you." Maria watched the ambulance drive away, its light flashing red and blue. The other customers in the cafe were very quiet. Nobody knew what had just happened. Maria called the cafe owner and told him what happened. She said, "I called an ambulance for a customer. I thought he was going to die." Her boss said, "You did the right thing." But Maria was shaking. She did not know if James would be okay. She did not know if she had helped him or made things worse. She did not know what was wrong with him or why he was so sick. She just knew that something inside her had said to act, and she had listened to that voice. She had been brave when she needed to be brave. That night, Maria could not sleep. She kept thinking about James. She kept wondering if he was alive. She kept wondering what was wrong with him. She did not know his last name. She did not know his family. She did not know where he came from. So she had no way to find out if he was okay. She just had to wait and hope that he lived. 3 days after Maria called the ambulance, a very large car pulled up to the Riverside Cafe. It was a black car that looked expensive and important. Maria was serving coffee to a customer when she saw the car. She watched through the window as a tall man in a suit got out of the car. She did not know who he was, but something told her that this man was important. The man looked like he had power and money. He walked into the cafe and looked around until he saw Maria. Then he walked right over to her. The man said, "Are you Maria Santos?" Maria said yes. The man put out his hand and said, "My name is Thomas Richardson. I need to talk to you." They sat down at a quiet table in the back of the cafe. Thomas Richardson told Maria a story that shocked her completely. He said, "The young man who came to your cafe every morning for the past 3 weeks is my son. His name is James Richardson. 3 days ago, he was in the hospital because he was very, very sick. The doctors told me that he almost died. They said that if he had not gotten to the hospital when he did, he would not be alive right now. A paramedic told me that my son was brought to the hospital by a woman named Maria Santos from the Riverside Cafe. He told me that this woman called the ambulance and saved my son's life." Maria did not know what to say. She felt tears start to come to her eyes. Thomas Richardson continued, "The doctors told me something else. They told me that my son was very sick because of medicine. He took medicine for pain after he got hurt playing sports. But the medicine made him feel very bad. The medicine made him sick. He took more and more of it because he wanted to feel better. But it made things worse. He became very, very sick. He stopped eating. He stopped sleeping. He became very sad and dark inside. He wanted to end his life." Maria's heart broke when she heard this. She had not known that James was taking bad medicine. She had not known about his real pain. But now it made sense. Now she understood why his hands shook. Now she understood why he looked so sick. Now she understood why he seemed like he was saying goodbye. Thomas Richardson had tears in his eyes. He said, "My son was going to end his life that morning. He came to your cafe because he wanted to see a nice place one more time before he did something very bad. But you saw him. You saw that something was wrong. You cared about him even though you did not know him. You saved his life, Maria. You are a hero." Maria did not feel like a hero. She just felt like she had done what was right. She said, "I just saw that he was in pain. I just wanted to help." Thomas Richardson said, "But that is what a hero is. A hero is someone who sees another person in pain and helps them. A hero is someone who cares enough to do something brave. You are that person." Thomas Richardson told Maria that James was now in a special hospital where doctors were helping him get well. He said that James had to stay there for many weeks. He said that doctors were helping James learn how to feel better without the bad medicine. He said that James would have to work hard to get well, but now he had a chance to live. And James would not have that chance if Maria had not been brave. The man took Maria's hand and said, "I am a rich man. I have money and business and power, but I could not protect my own son from his own pain. A simple waitress saw my son when I did not see him. You are better than me, Maria. You are better because you care about people. You see people? Thank you for seeing my son," Maria cried then. She cried because she was happy that James was alive. She cried because she understood how important her small act had been. She cried because she realized that even a simple person like her could change someone's life, just by paying attention and caring about another human being. 6 months later, Maria Santos was sitting in a big office building. She was not wearing her cafe uniform. She was wearing a nice business suit that was new and clean. She had a job title that sounded important, Director of the Richardson Hope Foundation. She still could not believe that her life had changed so much in just 6 months. After James got out of the hospital, Thomas Richardson wanted to do something to thank Maria, but he did not just give her money. He offered her a real job. He wanted to start a foundation that would help other people like James. He wanted to train people who work in stores, restaurants, and hotels to see the signs when someone is in trouble. He wanted to teach people how to help others, and he wanted Maria to lead this foundation because she had the gift of seeing people. At first, Maria said no. She said she was just a waitress. She did not have the education or training to lead something important. But Thomas Richardson said something that changed her mind. He said, "Maria, you know something that most educated people do not know. You know how to see people. You know how to care about people. You know how to be brave when it matters. These things cannot be taught in school. These things come from your heart. I need someone with your heart to lead this foundation. So Maria took the job. She moved to a new office. She started writing programs and training videos. She worked with other workers in restaurants and hotels and stores. She taught them what to look for when someone is in trouble. She taught them about the signs of addiction and mental health problems. She taught them that they were not just workers. They were people who could save lives just by paying attention. One day, James came to visit the foundation office. He looked so different from the sad, sick man who had come to the cafe every morning. James was healthy now. He had color in his face. His hands did not shake. His eyes had light in them again. He was smiling. He gave Maria a big hug. He said, "Maria, you saved my life. But you did not just save my life. You gave me a reason to live. You showed me that someone cared. You helped me want to get better." James told Maria that he had finished his treatment. He said that he was working with doctors who were helping him stay well. He said that he was spending time with his father again. He said that they were talking about things they had never talked about before. He said that his father was learning about pain and sadness too. He said, "My father was so busy being rich and powerful that he did not know that his own son was suffering. But you were not too busy. You saw me." James had started his own work too. He was talking to other young people who were struggling with addiction. He was telling them his story. He was telling them that life can get better. He was telling them that people care about them. Maria and James had become friends. They worked together at the foundation to help other people who were struggling like James had struggled. 1 year after Maria called the ambulance, the Richardson Hope Foundation had its first big event. There was a celebration with many people. News reporters came to tell the story. Thomas Richardson stood up and told everyone what Maria had done. He said that she was an example of what real courage looks like. He said that she showed that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. He said that Maria was the reason his son was alive. Maria was surprised when they asked her to stand up. She did not like being the center of attention. But when she stood up, everyone in the room stood up too and clapped. People clapped and clapped. Maria thought about that Tuesday morning 6 months ago, when a sad young man came to her cafe. She thought about how she had noticed something was wrong. She thought about how she had been brave enough to act. She thought about how that one action had changed her life and James's life and the lives of many other people who would be helped by the foundation. After the event, Maria walked outside into the cool night air. James walked with her. He said, "You know what is funny? If I had not come to your cafe that morning, we never would have met. If you had not noticed that something was wrong, I would be dead. Everything changed because you cared enough to see me." Maria said, "Everything changed because you were brave enough to come back every morning. If you had given up, I could not have helped you. We both were brave in our own way." Maria went back to her apartment that night and thought about her life. She was no longer just a waitress in a cafe. She was a director of a foundation that helped many people, but she was also still the same person inside. She still cared about people. She still noticed when something was wrong. She still believed that every person was important and worth saving. That was who she was, and that was who she would always be. The story of Maria and James spread to many people. Other waitresses and workers heard about what Maria had done. They started to pay more attention to their customers. They started to notice when people were in trouble. They started to care more deeply, and because of this, other lives were saved too. Other people in pain found help because someone was paying attention. Other people who wanted to give up found reasons to live because someone cared. Maria never forgot where she came from. She still visited the cafe sometimes. The owner kept her favorite table ready for her. She would sit there and remember that Tuesday morning when everything changed. She would sit there and feel grateful that she had listened to her heart. She would sit there and know that being kind and paying attention matters. It matters more than money. It matters more than power. It matters more than anything else in the world.